Hey everybody, welcome to Blushing Nerd Tarot. Today we're going to do a tag, Tarot Firsts, first put out by Larkin Legend, and I'll have links down below where you can find the original, and then of course search the tag, and you'll be able to see all the other responses that are out there. I know Chris from Elemental Cartomancy has done the tag as well, so plenty of good options out there to go check out other responses. So let's get right into it. First encounter with tarot. So, some of you may have heard my story. I think I mentioned it when I was on Simon's channel as a guest on Catching Up With at one point. So, my neighbor is the one that introduced me to tarot. She, I don't think, intended to do so, but I just happened to my wife and I went next door one Saturday morning, and she had tarot cards out on the kitchen table, and the rest is history. I was immediately hooked and very intrigued, and it's something, of course, I've been aware of all my life, but had never really encountered up close and personal. So it just had a very fast connection to the cards. So that was my first encounter, and the rest is history. First tarot deck, mass market. First tarot deck was Ethereal Visions. Some of this came down to just like timing and what was available because immediately upon having that encounter with tarot with my neighbor, I started looking for a deck. And didn't know a whole lot about the systems or anything, and I like Art Nouveau. This qualifies. This has that kind of style, and I thought, oh well, I'll just start somewhere, and so I got the deck, and I didn't find that I connected with it a whole lot, but I was brand new, so it's very difficult to say, whether that's the deck's fault or mine. But I still really enjoy it. I do like the artwork. I think it's a pretty cool deck and a good execution for a mass market with that cold foiling and everything. Indie deck, my first. I went right for right for a heavy hitter. My first was Pagan Otherworlds. So, of course, just an absolute gem of a deck. It is a well-known, well-loved beauty, and this is one that I felt quite a connection with right away, and just early on, this is a good example. It has it definitely has some pip elements to it. It's a little more pippish, I would say, than a standard RWS. So, of course, at this point, I had already acquired a couple of standard RWS decks and done some studying. So, so I had those meanings and those different visual cues and things pretty well down. But so this one was a challenge at first because I hadn't really done anything with Marseille or any pip decks. So this was also my first sort of pip deck. This is illustrated pips, I guess. There's some scenery, but nevertheless, it was a challenge that I was glad to take on because it's just an amazing thing to look at. It's quite a beauty. So so that was Pagan Otherworlds as my first indie, and my first encounter with something I might consider to be a soul deck as well, because I do kind of feel that way about that deck. I don't know if I still 100% feel that way. I don't know, but it's close to my heart. So, first Kickstarter tarot deck. I believe, I'm pretty sure my first would have been Brandt's Moon Baby. This is the second edition, I believe. The re-release, yeah, it is second edition. 2022. I think that was my first. I had backed another, at least one or two other projects, not tarot related. So I wasn't completely new to a Kickstarter, but I think that was my first tarot deck there. My first tarottuber. This one is a tough one because I can't remember for sure what the timing was, but they happened on the same day. It was either Simon from the Hermit's Cave. I would link. Well, I'll link down below, but you know his channel. If you see mine, you know his for sure. And the other one was John Ballantrae. John Ballantrae has a lot of followers on YouTube and has a very different style. Really interesting style compared to a lot of the other YouTubers out there and tarot tubers. Very much, you can tell he wants to educate, and he has a very, it's a tabletop camera, and he's drawing diagrams a lot of times, and he does put a lot of astrology into it that I don't know enough about it to really follow what he talks about there and the relationship between tarot and astrology in some cases, but his tarot content is great. I mean, I really appreciate his approach. And it was great as a beginner because he's, soft spoken. I believe he's Irish, but lives in Canada. And just a great tone, and great, benevolent sort of presence. And so it was a really nice welcoming. And of course, Simon's channel was the same way, just for different reasons. Very welcoming, very, you just kind of feel at home when you watch Simon's stuff, like you've been welcomed in by a friend, and you get to hang out and talk about things you're interested in, and learn something too. So, both on the same day, and I can't remember who was first, but love them both. So, first tarot book, I went right for a heavy hitter, because I tend to be a bit of an academic. Holistic Tarot by Benabel Wen. You can see I have my markers all through it. And just an incredible book. It's a big one. It's chunky, but so much good information in here. And one of the reasons I recommend this book is because she takes so many different angles to teach people tarot, and engages in really thorough, deep dive examples that you can walk through as if you're the reader and this is a live scenario. Just great book. Absolutely great book. So can't recommend that one enough. First tarot podcast, that would be Wildly Tarot was my first, and I still listen to it and love it. Great podcast. And the only other one I listen to that I also highly recommend is In Search of Tarot. And it is also found on all the major podcast spots. They have one of their most popular segments that they do, or types of episodes, are history. Well, you have to search. I mean, you'll see it if you pull up In Search of Tarot. Take a look at something like there's a title tag having to do with history, and they go back to the roots of different forms of divination. They don't just do tarot in that. Recently, they had an episode on runes and Ogham. That was interesting, and but I really like the tarot ones too. So another great podcast. So those are two good ones. I'll also put the names down, and if I can link it, I'll link it, but I'll put the names at least down in the description. Very good though. First tarot course. I have not had a tarot course. I've had some self-guided stuff that I've gone through, but nothing that I would really call a proper tarot course. First major tarot teaching, you relearned in a way that better suited you. And I think the one for me is probably, and I wasn't quite sure what was meant by this question at first. I had to kind of reread it, but I think it's in general. I think the idea is, and from watching um, the original video, I think the idea is what's a widely accepted meaning that didn't quite work for you in tarot and the interpretations, and then you learn something else that actually you've adopted and works better for you. So I don't know. I don't know if I would say that this is very different from the standard meaning, but the Lover's card is one that comes to mind that I really embraced the concept of duality with the Lover's card, and an understanding that a situation can have two simultaneous, um, not only just potential outcomes, but it can be more complex. And engaging with that and understanding that is helpful with a lot of situations in life, that we tend to just, because we're human and humans tend to do this naturally, as that's it's unfortunate in some ways, because that it also tends to lead to bias and things like racism and stuff like that. Um, but it also is a survival mechanism in psychology. We learn about things like that bias can actually help you form frameworks that keep you safe. So you can quickly recognize things that might get you in trouble. You're driving down the road, and you see somebody speeding and driving erratically. That's not part of the norm. So you have a bias set up in your head to sort of classify that as a potential danger. So um, and that example doesn't lend itself well to what I'm talking about with the Lover's card, um, but the idea that we should, I think it's helpful to pause when you find that your mind is trying to lock down to your first opinion of something, the first impression, and you're really trying to hold on to that as if it's the total truth and the end all be all. Um, just pause and ask yourself, is there another side to this? Could there be two things going on here? Or maybe there's one thing and I'm looking at the wrong thing. Just to pause and think about it. Doesn't mean you are wrong, but I think it's healthy to engage with the world in that way, because a lot of times you'll grow from every encounter like that. And I think the Lover's card for me is a reminder of that kind of duality. And it helps, I think, in a reading to recognize, based on the position that card comes up in, if you keep that in mind, I think it can help lend some really interesting perspective on whatever it is that card came up for in the reading. That's my two cents. All right. First tarot deck rehomed. I have never rehomed a tarot deck other than, and I'm cheating a little bit on this one. I've done a giveaway on a deck, and I have another to give away. So if you're watching this in May of 2023, I'll put a pop up that you can click to take you back to the video that announces the giveaway. It was last week. Um, it tells you how to enter and all that kind of stuff, and you put something in the comments in that video, and then you'll be entered if you're a subscriber. So the drawing for that's coming up next week. So I'll link the video also in the description in case the tag. I tried a tag last week, it didn't work. So or a banner, it didn't work. So I'll link it in the description, and if you're interested, go check out the video. I'm doing a deck giveaway. So it's my second one, and that's the only time I've kind of rehomed a deck. Now, that being said, I have sort of a mental purgatory box. I don't have a proper one, but I do have some decks that I'm definitely going to be rehoming. They're ready to go. It's just not they're not not in my rotation ever. So I'm just going to go ahead and have them move on. So that'll happen eventually. But for now, it's the fun kind. It's the giveaway. So go watch the video, enter if you'd like to. First tarot deck that touched you emotionally. That would be the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. Oak, Ash, and Thorn was a very early indie for me. Also, I haven't done it yet, but it just opened up. The pre-order for the new Oracle deck is live right now on their website. So you get some extra goodies, and I believe there's a little bit of a discount involved if you go to Three Trees Tarot and put in your order for the new Oracle, which I'll be doing. I really like their projects, so anxious to do that. But this is the first one that that really I had an emotional connection for. And I think some of that came from timing. There was a lot going on when I got this. And I did some outdoor readings with this, and they really just hit home. It was just, it was pretty remarkable. So great experience with this deck from that angle, the emotional angle. This is the first one that came to mind, and I mean, there have been other decks that I've had emotional moments, but having a truly emotional reaction, being touched by a deck, this is the one that did that for me. So, all right, first tarot deck or first tarot inspired artwork that you made. I do oil paints, and I engage in some forms of art, but I haven't done any that have been inspired by tarot. That being said, I'm cheating on this one too because it's amazing. My sister-in-law made something for me that is incredible because she knows I'm into tarot. First of all, she found some wrapping paper that has the majors on it. Well, it actually has some minors too, which is kind of funny, but there's some description there. And this is wrapping paper. I mean, come on. How cool is that? And then I've been wanting to show these on the channel for a long time. But I'm waiting to we're redoing my office, and I'm going to be hanging them in my office. So anxious to do that. But check this out. It's very difficult to show you just exactly what's going on here, but these are wood, right? She made these, okay? This is a wax coating on here that then takes a transfer. So and there are 4 of them. Look at that hermit. I mean, that's just... So you have to lay the wax on, beeswax, I believe. But this is an ancient technique that, and she's a master at finding these old methods, and then just she just does them, just executes like she's been doing it her entire life. This is number 4. And I can't get enough of them. I think they're so amazing. And I wish you could feel them, because the wax and the way it transfers, it has such a gravity to it. They're just so well done. Amazing. So that's some tarot artwork, directly related to tarot and also inspired by tarot and inspired by my love of tarot and a loved one of mine doing it for me. So it's just so cool. Um, yeah. So I had to share that. I think it's really incredible. Um, I have been thinking about how I might incorporate something in. So the oil painting that I do, it tends to be around birds, um, because we go to an area, usually every year, that has a beautiful bird sanctuary, and I found myself doing a lot of photography. A lot of that was related to just the challenge of, seeing certain birds, trying to find them, taking the photos, liking the exercise and the results of it and everything. But then that turned into, well, what if I start painting the photos that I take? And so anyway, but I've been thinking about maybe finding a way to take the imagery from the tarot and do something in oil painting with that. So maybe one of these days, not sure. But for now, I'm a very, very happy recipient of someone else's tarot inspired artwork, because this is just the coolest thing in the world. You can kind of see the texture. I think because they're sort of, you can see a little bit of it. They're lumpy bumpy because they have it's like a layer of wax, and then it's this ink transfer that's done to create the image. And anyway, so cool. And I see, the thing is, I want to hang them up back here too, but I spend more time in my office, so I can have a little bit of my tarot world there with me all the time. So I think that's my preference at this point. So maybe I'll commission her to make some more and I can double up. I don't know. But anyway, that's the tag, folks. Tarot firsts. Thanks for watching. Check out that other video if you're interested in entering the contest. And I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks a lot.